And should be on. So you've got Mel with Allon Sasson. Hi, Allon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really excited to be interviewing you for our show. But you know, we always start with a jingle.
Sure.
So unless you want to sing the jingle, we're going to play it.
Let's play it.
Let's do that. Okay. Are we ready? We're always ready. Okay. Here we go.
Get a chair, grab a seat, or we'll sweep you off your feet. We move, we groove, you got Mel. Ease your legs, rest a while, all you gotta do is smile. We're swell, can't you tell, you got Mel. When the show begins, you better hold on tight, or before you know it, you'll be high as a kite. Take a break, settle down, we're the only show in town. It's our road, don't you know, you got Mel. Give it up, don't think twice, we're a hurricane on ice. What the hell, give it yell, ring a bell, show and tell. Mademoiselle, give it a smell, you got Mel. You got Mel.
Yeah, I've got Mel.
Mel has Allon Sasson. Allon, so why do you think I called you an enigmatic person in the best sense of the word?
First, before I'll tell you what I think about your choosing of the word enigmatic, let me just say that the jingle is a very good choice for starting the show every day. Because even when people come and they have a serious face, they hear the jingle and they start to smile. So I think it's a great start.
Well, thank you. It's actually, the jingle is 9 or 10 years old from a previous radio show I did at IDC. So I had to steal it back. That took a few years, and now I have it, and I'm not letting it go. Okay. So Allon, you've done what many people would consider a little special. You've been in hiding for many years, and when people look at your CV, there's a gap of how many years?
Something like 22 years.
22 years. When you were doing things that you can't brag about.
Right.
Here's your opportunity if you want to. We might go to jail.
I think that's not a very good opportunity to tell about my things. But let me just say that I was working in the Prime Minister's office for the last 22 years, actually until last December. And I was working with great people, with great friends. I have great friends from this long period, people I grew up with, and people that we shared lots of adventures and a lot of new things. Maybe we'll talk about some of them, but a very small portion of it later. And I don't see it as a gap. The fact that it's not, that I can talk about it is not a gap from my side, anyway.
But right now, you have a senior position there, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, if you can't answer, then just smile at me or sing. And you can't really tell people what you did. You know, you're now looking for a senior position, and it's hard for you to tell people all the wonderful things that you've done.
I don't think it's that hard. It's a bit hard with the details, but I think that even when people see my LinkedIn profile today, or when they're talking to me, I can share some of the things. I can say that I've been in a few managerial positions in 2 different areas. One of them is the strategic planning that has an equivalent in the civilian world. So this is something that people can understand and can relate to. They know what strategic planning is. You look at trends, at the world, economic trends or demographic trends or technology trends, and you try to understand what it means for your organization, what you have to do. Which trend is an opportunity, which trend might be a threat, and you have to deal with it. So this is one area that I was dealing with.
So you're a SWOT expert in more ways than one.
Sorry?
You're a SWOT expert.
I don't think I'm yeah.
Opportunities, threats.
Yeah.
And if you don't behave yourself, we'll SWAT you.
No, if anyone SWATs me, it's me. But this is one area where I was
okay.
working.
So, and your second field of expertise?
Yeah, the second field of expertise is, I think, the borderline, the blur borderline between technology and intelligence. That means what technology means for us, what we can do with it, which assets we can achieve through technology, and which threats different new technologies pose to us. So actually, it's a research field, and you have to know how to seize those opportunities. So it's not just research for the sake of research. It's research that has to be meaningful and has to have an impact, and you have to do something operative with it. So that's the other field. So having said all that, I think we can move on.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I guess that I can't ask you anything else about those 22 years. So now you're in the free world, and what kind of, I'm gonna do an advertisement now. Well, let me tell you, I think you're an incredible guy. I met you because you like volunteering. And why is volunteering so important in your life? And how did we meet?
Okay, so maybe we'll start with telling our friends on Facebook right now where we met and how was
Got Mel. Go ahead.
Because we don't look like two persons who come from the same world or share the same interests, but we do. Okay, so
shoot, it's your show.
So I think for our meeting we have to thank Liran Michaeli, who organized a TEDx event something like a year ago, and I came to this event only to hear about TEDx. I didn't participate in a TEDx before. I did translate a few of the TED Talks before, but I haven't participated in a TEDx event. And we met there, we started talking, and we saw that we have a common ground for our next meeting. So we met in a cafe, and we saw that we have much more things to talk about. And from there on, maybe we'll get later to our what we're doing together today in our books. But this is TEDx is a volunteering event. It's not the only thing that I do volunteering, but I think we can summarize most of the areas where I volunteer as things that are related to education, and mainly to help young people, high school students, or even younger, or people who are in their early business life after they've served in the army, in the Israeli army, and they go out to the world and they are seeking the best way for them to fulfill themselves. And I'm looking for volunteering opportunities there. I don't think I'm that special. I think many people do it along their professional life or personal life, and they're looking for a way to contribute back. So this is my way of doing it.
Yeah, but you for the past, since I've known you, you're volunteering here and you're volunteering there, and I don't know anybody who's so busy volunteering as you are. And I should mention that when you translate TED Talks, it's almost anonymous. It's very important. You're translating TED Talks to Hebrew so people can understand them, right?
Right.
And you're getting just a tiny bit of credit. So you're a person who likes to give much more than they get back. How come?
If that's the impression I left, I probably brag too much about my volunteering. But I can say that any volunteering that you do from the bottom of your heart is something that you get back a lot more than what you give. So even if you translate a TED Talk And you know that many of the people who watch the TED Talk, they understand English. They know how to watch this talk without reading the translation to Hebrew. But maybe you've helped 3 or 4 or 10 people to understand or to get the idea that they couldn't have without your translation. Then it's a good thing, I think, that you contributed to the world. So I think you earn it. It's not something that you do in order to get something back, but it's something that you enjoy.
You know, most of us want to see our name. You know, when we donate money, we want to see our name in big letters on a building. You know, I was in academia for many years, and people will donate money, but they will argue with you, what is the font size on the building, and what are the letters made out of, so they get the proper credit. You want very small letters,
right? As small as possible.
So I think that's really outstanding, and one of the things that makes you an enigma. And you are also now a volunteer at our books. We look at you as a very senior authority helping us, and you know, we don't have any money. You're doing that for free also,
right? But that again is something that I can explain very easily, because when people talk to you and Ran and Shuli and they hear about our books, they don't see it as just another startup with an idea. They see it as something with value. They see it as something that they can relate to, that they can understand why you founded our books and what you want to bring to the world, to the community, even to young kids. And when I heard about it for the first time, I said I want to be a part of it. And I know that right now we're building it, or we're building the next steps of our books. But I think it has a lot more potential than the great potential that it has right now. And I wanted to be a part of it because I wanted to learn why you do it and how you do it. And I wanted to help it grow even bigger.
Well, bless you for that.
Yeah.
And you're also like me, you're an education freak. So I brought you here behind me a school. This is my school of Miss Fish. Thank you, Rotem Omri, for the wonderful drawing. And would you like to talk about your ideas about school? You want to talk about something, so go ahead and talk about it. Don't let me bother you here.
Okay, so as you said, I'm used to working in places where you don't want your name to be on. And one or some of the places that I think you can have a big influence on the life of others without have to focus on your name, but focus on the other side, is education, and especially with young children. That's why I work and I volunteer in different places where I can teach the next generation, our next generation, and give them a little bit of my experience and a little bit of my thinking tools that I've earned along the years or that I've used along the years, and maybe help them use it even in a better way. And I have many different projects that I'm involved in. Some of them, as you said, are volunteer as a volunteer. In Unistream is the main place, the main association where I volunteer with a group of young kids, boys and girls who are about 15 years old, and we're mentoring them. The association is mentoring them. We give them tools to be an entrepreneur. Some of them come from a background that they haven't had the opportunity to learn about entrepreneurship or to experience entrepreneurship. So it's a class that we teach them what is entrepreneurship, how do you do it. We give them tools, we give them mentoring, we give them our connections to the world, to the business world. And at the end of a 1-year plan or a 3-year plan, depends on the plan, they have a startup. They have a prototype of a product that they can show the world and they can talk to.
This is done in school, or it's after school?
It's after school, but it's not something that you know, you go to the park in the afternoon and just play them. No, they are sitting in all kind of, it's every time in a different matnas, but they sit in a class, they have to learn, they have to write, they have to do homework, they get homework from us, from their mentors and their instructors. I have to mention Mor Levy, who is the leader of the group that I mentor, and we give them homework in order to understand.
So just for our viewers who don't speak perfect Hebrew, matnas is a community center.
Yeah.
So they go to a community center, and can you give us some ideas of the projects that they've developed with your mentorship?
I don't want to give you many ideas. I want to give you our idea, my group's idea.
Okay.
Because we are in a critical phase right now. We have the finals in 2 weeks from now. And my group got to the final. So bravo, Rotary Herzliya. And I see that you're a fan already. And they invented a new invention that is meant to be in different clothing stores. It's called a Lockmaster. That means that when you enter a fitting room, you have glasses, right?
Do I have glasses?
You have glasses, right? So when you enter...
If you say so, I never noticed.
I can see your glasses. So when you enter...
They might be virtual.
No, they are real.
Okay.
So when you enter a fitting room at the mall, sometimes you don't know where to put your glasses. And you have a bad experience in the store or in the fitting room where you're afraid that it might be broken or it might be lost. So they invented, not us, not the instructions and not the mentors, the kids invented the Lockmaster, which is something like a safe, a small safe that is designed to be specific to each store. If you have a sports store, so it will be in the colors of the logo of the store, and it will be somewhere in the fitting room, and you can open it with your credit card or with you if you're a member of a club of that store, so you can use your member club card, and this way your product's safe, or your wallet, your glasses can stay safe while you keep buying things in the store. So we have more time in the store. You probably spend more money in the store. You feel safer. That's a great idea. And I hope we'll win the finals.
Yeah, I sure do. I have some comment about that, and I will mention it off camera. But one thing you have to take care of is to make sure that if somebody leaves the store, there are huge sirens because people can leave strange things and then just walk off. But I'm sure that you solved that, given your special background. You don't want people leaving little things that can blow up. But I'm sure that you've solved that. That's a great idea, because probably it has lots of uses that we can think of, even beyond the fitting rooms.
Right.
So that's really, and the kids thought of it themselves.
Yeah, they know that they go through the whole process of brainstorming and looking for things that are valuable and not just an idea that you can't do anything with. And then they have to decide what the business model of that product is going to be, because you can't just tell them to develop something that is not valuable. No investor will invest in a thing that he don't see a value in it.
Okay, but Allon, you and I know that less than 1% of startups succeed. And we still encourage our children. You know, we know that the odds are against them, and we still encourage them. They're probably, at the end of the day, they might win a prize, but they'll be disappointed when their product is not launched all over the world. So please comment on this. It's something that troubles me.
Okay. I think there are two things that I want to tell about this point, because I look at it from two different angles. First of all, as I said, I have many educational programs that I'm involved in, and in some of them I teach in schools. That's not volunteering, that's something that I do as a professional. And I use my background of researching technology trends and other trends in order to give, we're focused especially on gifted kids, but we're trying to open it to any kid that should have these capabilities. We try to teach them how to look at the world and to try to find new innovative things. But as well, we try to teach them that it's okay not to succeed sometimes, and even to learn from these mistakes. Because, of course, not all startups succeed. Actually, a very small portion of them do succeed and earn money. But it doesn't mean that you can't learn from these mistakes and use these lessons in other ways or in other opportunities that you have in your life. And this is something very valuable. You know, it sounds like a cliche that the only person that doesn't make any mistake is the one who never tries. But they have to try. And many of the kids today, they don't even try. Many of the young people who are in their 20s, they haven't had enough failures along the way. They don't know how to come back from a failure. And this is something very important. When you look at the top skills of people, or the top skills that people are going to need 20 years from now, the capability of maintaining your momentum when things are hard, not just as you planned, and the mentality to continue after a failure are very important skills for our next generation, or that are already born. The people are already born. We have to teach them in order to give them those tools tomorrow. So this is one way that I can look at learning from a startup, even if it fails. And I think you knew that I'm going to talk about Herzl at this point or another along our talk, right?
You are absolutely right. So who was, for those of us who don't know Herzl, who was Herzl?
Okay, so Benjamin Zeev Herzl is considered to be the father of the Jewish people in the modern times. He, well, he predicted that we'll come to this land and settle the land after 2,000 years that we didn't settle in this land in Israel. He was working mainly in Vienna in the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. And one visionary, he had two visionary books. One is called Medinat HaYehudim, the State of the Jews, and the other one is called Alt Neuland, a new old land, Alt Neuland. And everybody in Israel knows Herzl. The town of Herzliya in the center of Israel is called after Herzl.
And we also know Herzl Street in every town.
Yeah, there's an Herzl Street in
and
every
Herzl
town.
on the bills that we use, something that was, used to be money.
Right, it was 100 shekels if I remember it.
100 shekels. Soon we won't have money, but that's another interview. And actually, but not all of us have been to the hotel in Basel, where he went out on the balcony.
Were you at the hotel in Basel?
Yes, I was.
Oh, I thought I heard it. Okay, so tell me, how was it on the balcony?
The balcony, I don't remember. The food was good.
I don't think that was the reason that you came to this hotel specifically.
Somebody invited me. You know, these kind of hotels, people like me who like to eat hummus and trina don't invite ourselves to these fancy hotels. But somebody invited me and I went, and he said to me, hey, you know, this is the place where Herzl was. And I said, oh, that's wonderful. What are we going to order? Okay, so please continue because this is riveting.
Yeah, okay. So the reason I mentioned Herzl, when we were talking about the entrepreneurship and let's say the risk of not succeeding, is that Herzl had a very big mission to take people from around the world who are Jews and to find a new country for them, but mainly to convince other countries not only to allow the Jews to come to Israel, but to support them. He had to convince them that this is for their own good to let the Jews come to Israel. And when you look at Herzl, 125 years ago, he acts exactly like entrepreneurs today. Exactly. It's not my idea. It's an article I wrote together with a friend. It was his idea originally, and we started talking about it, and we understood immediately that when you read Herzl's writing 125 years ago, and you change the language from wagons to artificial intelligence, it's exactly the same thing. He talks about convincing different people who can fund this big operation, just like you go to an investor today. How can I convince those people to support the Jews to come to Israel? And he's talking about dumping all the old technology and using only new technology because we have to build an infrastructure for the next 20 or 30 or 40 years from now. And he's talking about he says that some of the things that he thinks right now, he's not going to say them out loud because people will think that he's crazy. And only 20 years from now, they will understand the magnitude of his things. And just like entrepreneurs today, he failed time after time. He went to different people and they just said no. Or they say, let me see the first investment and I'll do the second one. That's very frustrating for him.
He even tried to bring the Jews to Uganda.
Yeah, he had many different ideas.
He pivoted.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. He pivoted. When you talk about a startup, you say he pivoted. When you talk about a politician, you say he's zigzagging, he's crisscrossing. But Herzl did his pivots and he did it very right and in a very impressive way because he was looking at the possibility to look at to go to Uganda, not because he thought that Uganda is the best place for the Jews, but he thought that this is the only viable thing that he can achieve in his times. And later, when he understood that the ecosystem doesn't support Uganda, then he changed it back to Israel. And the rest is history.
Okay.
So we can learn from Herzl about the importance of failing along the way.
Okay. I see Israel as a startup to this very day. So we're not only a startup nation because we have a lot of young startups, we're also a startup nation, 70 years old, and we are a startup. Except we are a startup that cannot afford to fail.
Yeah. So this is where a country cannot see itself as a startup, only as a startup, because you don't have the option to fail.
Yeah, look, there are startups, you know, that if you have a family, you have to provide for them. And you need to invent some way to provide. Then you become a startup. You know, Irving Berlin was very poor on the streets of New York, and he discovered that if he sang while he was waiting on the tables, he would get bigger tips. So, you don't have to have a startup the same way that we talked about it, because Herzl was not a startupist. He was not the entrepreneur in the way that we talk about.
Right.
He had his dream was to build a country for the Jews to come back to after 2,000 years. And right. What is special about your youth that makes you this kind of human being?
I don't know.
Because I've been here in Israel 50 years, and you're the first person that ever talked to me about Herzl at all.
A person my age, you mean?
A person anybody's age. Nobody talks to me about Herzl.
Well, Doron, my partner in this article, is the one to blame for me talking about Herzl, and the one to praise for me talking about Herzl. But you were talking about my youth, so maybe it's something about. Of course, it has to do with your family. I learned in a gifted or a class for gifted kids, and my family members always supported me very much. But they also told me the real world is here. It's not in the gifted kids class, because there it's like a bubble. You only meet people who are like you. The real world is right here around you, and I have a very loving and supporting family from years ago, and so I think they're the one to thank. And probably one more thing is not so much about my youth, but the places I've been along the years, because I've moved from Haifa, where I was born, to Tel Aviv, to Givatayim, to Beit Aryeh, to Kfar Saba. And I heard a few weeks ago, I heard a very interesting lecture about immigrants. It's not that Haifa and Tel Aviv is an immigration movement, but when you're moving from different places and when you go from one culture to another culture, when you see different people with different views, with different backgrounds, I think you have a richer inner world, and you have more tolerance to see new things that you may see as weird if you're only grown up in a
Allon, you have a unique gift that few people have, which is that you're very observational. You look at things, you see things, even before you analyze them. Your eyes are always open to see things, okay? So you're like one of these little fish here when you were a kid. I'm guessing that you were different. How were you different than the other fish in school?
I'm not sure I was different from the other kids in school. Maybe only with one thing, but I don't know. It's probably better that someone else will judge it, because you know the people who are very observant and have very keen eyes, they don't always see things about themselves. So other people have to look at it. But I enjoy very much looking at things both from the analytical point of view and both from the abstract point of view. I do it all the times because I enjoy it, and because this was my profession for 22 years, to look at things and to try to find patterns and to try to explain to other people what I see.
No, but you must have done this at a very young age too. Because most of us, when we're 4 years old, we observe things, we look for patterns, and then we go to school and we're told not to do that anymore.
Yeah.
You didn't stop.
This is why I'm looking for opportunities in education and not just mentoring young startup entrepreneurs. Because when you talk to startup entrepreneurs, it's too late. You sometimes have to fix things that someone has messed with before. And when you go to young kids, you can prevent some of those mistakes.
Yeah, but then you have to start at the age of 5, 6, 7. You know, when we get our observational skills kicked out of us by grade 1 and grade 2, and sometimes kindergarten.
So it's probably not me. It's probably the surrounding that gave me the opportunity to do it without judging me, without putting limits on my imagination or on my observations. Because every kid has a keen observation. Every kid looks at a pile of cubes and see a pirate or a boat, or you know, they play with the Lego. They play with Lego and they built everything. They don't have our limits.
That's 1 second. That is so beautiful. I love it. I'm going to repeat it. A kid looks at a pile of cubes and sees a pirate. I love that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going
but I don't have to tell you about it because you're a kid yourself, Mel.
Well, okay, but yeah, of course I'm a kid myself. That's that goes without saying. But and I'm interviewing you today, so we need to think this through a little bit, because we agree on so many things. And before we sum up our wonderful discussion, what haven't we talked about? We talked about you. We talked about Hair and Soul.
We haven't talked about my great family. You can see them right here, because each one of them is in a different place right now. But I'm married to Binat, who is a great midwife. And if someone saves lives, it's not people who work for the Prime Minister's office. It's midwives and nurses and doctors every day. So my thanks to her and my love to her.
Tell her,
and my two daughters, Aya and Shira,
who are an inspiration for you.
Yeah, of course.
As children,
I can talk about them for hours. You know, you should invite me only to talk about them.
Maybe I'll do that. But just before we start summing up, on your Facebook profile, there's a beautiful abstract picture with clouds and a sun. Who drew that?
This is Shira. This is my young daughter, and she's the abstract. Aya is the analytical, Shira is the abstract, and you know, you have to look at every one of them, and you know, get the best of everything. So this is Shira's paintings.
And how old is she?
She's 14 and a half.
And she drew this when she was how old?
She drew it when she was, I think it was 2 years ago. She has many other, maybe we'll do an auction.
I was just going to say, you know, like maybe we're barking up the wrong tree here. You know, you're looking for a job, you know, teaching. Maybe you should be auctioning your daughter's artwork.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Probably more profitable than teaching in classes.
But one second. Let's now we're online here. We shouldn't be doing this. But you know, we have now here, because both of us are unemployed, and both of us love our books, and our books is a place where kids can publish beautiful art and stories. But you know, we could have an auction for children's art, and they can decide where the money would be donated to.
We can also try to, you know, couple between kids' drawings and the authors that are looking for drawings for their books on our books. That's another option.
That's an option. But, you know, I did this about half a year ago. A class of very talented high school students of Mickey Kedar illustrated one of my children's books. And that's a lot of fun for the author. And it's good for the high school students. But what would really be good is for them to write their own stories and illustrate them. And I don't think anybody told Shira, is your daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you have to sit down now and make a beautiful painting of with the sky and the clouds and the sun. she did it because she was passionate about doing it. So I think that maybe what we should do, this is now something that we've just, we've been talking now for a year. We never thought about this, but we could have like a website or something, could be our books too, where kids create artwork and they donate them to people who auction them, who buy the paintings to use them for stories, and the money goes for some saving the planet purpose.
Okay, let's talk about it. But we do have a business. We do have to have a business plan for it.
Yeah, but
because we wanted to.
The business plan is only you, as we know. Only one of us has their feet on the ground, and that's you. Allon, last chance to say something of value. We just had a conversation that turned into a new project.
Right.
What would you like to say to the hundreds of people that are going to be watching this?
Yeah, I'm going to challenge one more thing. I think because this is something things that I do in other places that I work right now, and I think we can combine our books and your special mind of the crazy professor that you love to be, and
I don't have any choice,
Yeah, and my understanding of trends and the technology, and we can meet with people who have their ideas and they want to sharpen their ideas. Entrepreneurs, for example, or young entrepreneurs want to sharpen their idea and to tell their stories, and we can give them a great feedback because you know how to tell stories, because you tell stories. This is your profession, and I know how to understand if this story fits the right trends or not. So,
Allon, I'm with you through fire and water, as they say. But our books is something that I've invested a lot of time and money in, and we both know that if it has a business potential, then I'm very lucky. If you can turn it around, then that'll be wonderful. But at the end of the day, as unemployed people, we have to stop volunteering so much.
I'm unemployed.
And find a way to make money. So,
sure.
So with all the people here in the interview who are looking for a job, please raise their hand. Raise your hand.
I'm not looking for a job. I have a few places where I work right now. So what I do want is not another job. I want interesting projects. And
okay.
I'm looking for.
So everybody on this interview who wants an interesting project and is going to be paid for it, please raise your hand.
Yeah.
Okay. So final thing. Usually I ask this at the beginning, but the ending is also good. You never told me how much you love the Beatles.
So let me recite something that I truly believe in. You know the famous line, life is what happens while you're busy doing other things. This is the story of my life, because I think every transition that I've made along the way was not something that I planned, but something that I decided to embrace when I saw a change. And this is something that I not only believe, but I try to educate others, or to teach others to love this opportunity and not to be disappointed when things change along the way. So this is my love for the Beatles.
That they weren't afraid to change and to pivot.
Yeah, and I've also been to Abbey Road,
which I haven't.
Yeah. Okay.
So the Beatles, there's books on the Beatles as entrepreneurs. In fact, I think one of my friends, Mike Selden, may have written a book like that, because, like you say, the Beatles, they started out and they went here and they went there and they picked up things and they pivoted and they had managers and business partners and they took risks and they developed their craft and they developed their community and their customers. But what I'm interested in is, what is your favorite song?
What's my favorite song? Probably Woman.
Okay.
I know it's a cliche, but
yeah, but Woman is like post Beatles.
yeah, okay. So
it's John Lennon. I mean, you're allowed.
This is my contribution. I won't change it.
And
I can give you a U2 song, my favorite U2 song.
It's your interview.
No, so I'll choose one by U2 and not a song of the Beatles.
Okay.
I hope it's fine, and I hope we'll stay friends.
Okay, absolutely. Which song is that?
One. It's called One. One Love. One Life.
Yeah. Of course. Sing a little bit more.
No.
Just a bit more.
This was my longest talk, I think, on the internet. So
nobody's watching.
Not add singing to this.
It's my longest interview, 46 minutes. Nobody's watching anymore.
So Mel, this is the time where we have to end it. Before I start singing, before I begin singing.
Okay, have we covered all the bases? Are there things we haven't uncovered, discovered, recovered?
You can learn more about things that I'm interested in, or things that I can help other people through my blog. I have a website called
so why don't you put it underneath the
sure.
feed here?
So,
and you also have a couple of books on our books that are beautiful. So please share one or two of those. Allon Sasson, you've had Mel, I've had you. It was wonderful, and I'll speak to you later.
Yeah, sure. It was wonderful.
Like sometimes you go into an interview and you think you have some general idea, but because you're enigmatic, it turned into a much more interesting interview than I could have imagined.
I'm glad. It was interesting for me too.
Okay, well, we'll do it again when you have a show.
Sure.
Allon Sasson, thank you, Toda.
Thank you very much, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye.